This lesson, we're going to continue with chapter 10.4, but this time it's only about circle graphs. So I will be teaching you how to draw a circle graph. I will take out pen and paper later to show you how to draw it, not on my tablet because I know it's not accurate to show you on my tablet. It's not very easy to follow along. So I will be showing you with pen and paper, pencil and paper. So first of all, let's look at our question over here. We are asked, the question is 100 students were asked to choose their favorite color, and the results are listed in the table below. I just made up these random numbers, and so from the 100 students, 30 students like blue, 35 like yellow, 15 like green, and 20 like red. And we need to draw a circle graph to represent the results. Now, first of all, just from knowing this table, it's not so easy to draw a circle graph because in terms of a circle graph, each one of those areas in a circle graph represents a fraction of the people that are surveyed. So we need to turn these numbers into a fraction, and then we need to be able to multiply that fraction by the part of the circle, in which in a circle there's 360 degrees, and then multiply the fraction by the 360, then we will be able to get the angle that is needed to draw a circle graph. If you don't understand what I just said, doesn't matter. Let's start from the question and let's look at how to actually draw the fraction. Now, the previous chapters, we also learned fractions and percents. Percents are very similar to fraction. So instead of using fractions sometimes, we can also use percents. It is the same. I will be showing you two ways. So first of all, I'm going to continue on with this table. Now what I recommend you to do is to actually draw write down the table and add a few extra columns afterwards. So first of all, we have color over here. So I'm going to write down, I'm going to copy the table, color, and then with our color, we have blue, we have yellow, we have green, and we have red. So those are the four colors that we have. And then we have number of students. I'm going to copy that down, number of students. And so the first one is 30, then we have 35, we have 15, and we have 20. Now, I'm going to add an extra column. Now, we have to understand how many students were surveyed. There was 100 students that were surveyed. And so I'm going to add an extra column called fraction of students. And the fraction of students will be the number of students who like that color over the total number of students that were surveyed. So in this case, 30 over 100, that's going to be 30 over 100. We can simplify that fraction. That is the same as 3 over 10. You can do your working out some other place. You can do your working out if you can do it small enough over here as well. We have 35 out of 100. And so when we reduce that, we can divide top and bottom by 5. That's going to be 7 out of 100 divided by 5, which is 20, 7 out of 20. And then we have 15 out of 100, which is the same if I divide top and bottom by 5, that is 3 out of 20. And then lastly, we have 20 over 100, which is the same as 1 over 5. Now keep in mind that in this column, most of our fractions have different denominators, which means that later on when we're going to go and do our working out for the angle required, it may be a little bit difficult or a little bit complicated. So, but it doesn't matter. I will show you with another method as well. What we will do is, this is optional. You can choose to do an extra column called percent of students. Now I would say, if you choose to do percents, you don't need to do fraction. If you choose to do fraction, you don't have to do percents. So these two, you can choose either or. So either one of them are fine. Now, I've written this question as out of 100 students to make life easier when calculating the percents, which means 30 out of 100 is the same as 30%, 35 will be 35%, 15 will be 15%, red will be 20%. Normally, if it wasn't out of 100, you will have to divide by that number of students surveyed. So if 50 students were surveyed, you divide it by 50. If 80 students were surveyed, you have to divide by 80, and so on. Now that we know either the fraction of students or the percent of students, we're going to go and calculate the angle required. Now, remember in a circle, I'm going to quickly freehand draw a circle over here. Actually, let me just use the circle tool. It's going to look better. In a circle over here, what are the total angles in a circle from the very beginning? So if I'm going to draw a line like this, if I were to go from here all the way back to itself, how many degrees is that? That is 360 degrees. 360 degrees in a circle. And so if I'm thinking of a quarter, I'm just saying, for example, a quarter of the students like something, that's going to be 25%, or a quarter. A quarter would be, if you think in terms of a circle, that's going to be 90 degrees. That's going to be, if we're looking at 1/4, that's going to look like this. In green over here, this is the same as 1/4, or that's the same as 25%, and that angle right there is 90 degrees. How do we know it's 90 degrees? Well, it's actually 360 multiplied by 1/4, or it's 360 multiplied by 25%. Either ways is fine, it's the same. And so hopefully we understand that the area, okay, I will make a note over here. The angle required for the area of a pie chart, area in terms of the section, not area, sorry, section. For the section of a pie chart will be percent or fraction, okay, percent or fraction multiplied by 360 degrees. So keep that in mind. So we're going to go and create a last column over here called angle in pie chart. Pie chart, circle graphs, they're both the same. I prefer using the word pie chart because that's what I was more familiar with. But remember, the actual name is circle graphs in the textbook. So how do we calculate the angle? Well, I'll show you in two different ways. So on the left side, I will show you with fraction, how to calculate with fraction. And on the right side, I will show you how to calculate with percent. So they're both the same, angle in, this time I'll just say circle graph, but they're both the same, just keep in mind. So the first one, in terms of the fraction, that's 3 out of 10. So that's going to be 3 over 10 times 360 degrees. And so 360 divided by 10, you can simplify that first. 10 divided by 360 is, 360 divided by 10 is 36. 36 times 3, that's going to be 90 plus 18, which is 108. That's going to be 108 degrees, like there. Then for the next one, we have 7 over 20 times 360 degrees. So we have to divide 360 by 20. That's going to be, they can take out the 0. 36 divided by 2 will be 18. So we're left with 7 times 18. So 7 times 18 is the same as, let me just quickly do that. You might have to work that out by law of multiplication, but I'm going to just quickly show you that's 126 degrees with my calculator. And then the next one is 3 over 20 times 360. And so, no, don't forget the degrees. 360 divided by 20 is the same as 18, and then 3 times 18 will be 46. Is that right? 46? No. 18 times 3 is 44 degrees, is it? 18 times 3 is 54, sorry, 54. 54 degrees. And then lastly, we have 1/5 times 360 degrees. And so 1/5, well, 360 divided by 5, you will get 72 degrees. Now, the last important part is you want to make sure that you have the full circle. So what you want to do is over here at the bottom, you might want to tally up the total just to make sure that all of them add up to 360. So let's do 108 plus 126 plus 54 plus 72. Then in the end, when you add it up, that is 360 degrees. So I know that I haven't left anything. So that's how we calculate the angle using fractions. Now, over here, we have percent. And so we're going to use the percent and multiply by 360 to find the angle that we are required. So first of all, in terms of percent, that's 30%, the first one. So 30% is the same as 0.3 as a decimal. That's 0.3 times 360. And so you might like doing this in decimal, that's fine. And so 0.3 times 360 is the same as 108 degrees. Okay, and then afterwards, the next one is 0.35 times 360 degrees, and that is the same as 126 degrees. And then we have, this is 0.15 because 15%, 0.15 times 360, all of these are degrees. And that is equal to 54 degrees. And lastly, we have 0.2 times 360 degrees, and that will be 72 degrees. And then again, you want to add them up just to make sure that it is added up to 360 degrees. So this is the first part. So you want to draw a table in which first you calculate either the fractions or the percent, and then you calculate what the angle in the pie chart it will be based on your fraction or the percent. I've shown you both ways, and we will do another example later. Now, on to how do we actually draw the circle graph, okay? So I will be back with a slightly different setup. Okay, so I have here a separate setup that took me a while to get started. But what I've done is I've written my table again. You don't have to do this again, but I just wanted to write down my numbers in the paper over here. And so what we want to do is first, step one, let me write over here. Step one is we need to draw a decent sized circle. Decent size circle. And by decent size, I would say a circle that takes up maybe 1/8 of the size of your page. Not too small, not too big. You don't want it to take up your whole page. You don't want it to take it too small. So a decent size, if we're looking at an A4 paper, I would say a decent size circle would be roughly this size over here and over here. So there's two things. Before I go into how to draw a circle, there are two tools that you would need. Two tools. So tool one, tools for tools. Tools needed. Where should I do this? Tools needed. I'll do that up here. Tools required. And there are two tools that we are required. That is required. One is you need a protractor for measuring the degrees. That's a protractor. And two is we need a compass. And the compass is for drawing a circle. That's a compass. Okay? And so if you remember our lesson on circles, the compass keeps the radius the same. That's why when we draw a circle, it becomes a circle because it is a fixed distance from the center. So this point over here will be our center point, the pointy side, and then our pencil will be any point on the boundary. which is going to be the fixed radius. So what you're going to do is, I'm just going to put the point down, and then with my pencil, I'm going to lightly just go around like this. So it may take a little bit of time to get used to drawing with the compass. So the most important part here is don't be too hard, because if you draw too hard, if you put your hand down on it, or if you accidentally, if the point thing comes off the center, then you will mess up your circle. Or if you draw too hard and the width increases, again, you will mess up your circle. So draw it lightly. You are required to be able to draw a circle. So if you're at home, try to find a compass and try to find a protractor. So the second part is we need to use our protractor to draw our pie chart. Now, the most important part is, now in terms of a pie chart, there is no requirement for which section to draw first, but it is good practice to draw the largest area first. It is good practice. So draw a decent sized circle. Step 2 is we want to usually start with the largest angle. And so in this case, which one is the largest? Yellow over here is the largest. So I'm going to draw this angle first, starting from the very top of the circle. So usually start with the largest angle. And then most important, note over here, we want to note over here, it needs to draw a line from the top of the circle to the center first. So I'm always going to start off from the very top. So I would say this is my top point over here. I will just put a dot, and then I would connect it to my center, where I put the center was where I poked the paper with the compass, right? So I know it doesn't probably look very straight to you. I will just turn my page so that it looks straight. So the next part is I want to draw an angle of 126 degrees. So I'm going to align this center over here to the center point, and then align this 0, you see at the top here is 0, to the very top of my circle on that line. And then I'm going to trace across until I reach 100, 110, 120, 125, and 126. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly make a dot over there at 126. So you probably cannot see very clearly because my camera doesn't focus too well, but I just drew a dot over here at 126 degrees. And then I'm going to draw a line from the center towards that dot, okay? But I'm not going to go all the way to the dot. I'm only going to go to the edge of the circle, like that. And so I'm going to label this part. This is yellow. This is my yellow. And what I can do is I can put the number of students, which was, I forgot what the question was. Let me go back and see. And that was 35 students. 35. That's up to you whether you want to put the number. I would usually put it in brackets too. Then I would go to my second largest. That is second largest. Then from this line, I want to measure 108 degrees. So what you might want to do is you might want to rotate your paper so that the end of the first line is at the top. So it makes it easier to find the second one. And I'm going to align the center to the very center of the circle, and this line zero will be on that end of the yellow, and I want to go and trace across to 108 degrees. So that's 100 is over here, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm just going to put a dot over there so that I have made a note. And then I want to draw a straight line from the center towards that dot, but stopping when I reach the edge of the circle. Then I'm going to go ahead and label this. This is blue. And I'm going to state how many people liked blue. That's going to be 30 students. And just make sure that's correct. Yes, 30. And then the next largest is red over here. That's the third largest. So I'm going to start at the end of the blue, and I'm going to measure 72 degrees. So it's going to be like this. Again, the center at the very center point, like this. And then from 0, I'm going to trace up to 71, 72. That's over here. So I just did a dot. And then I'm going to go ahead and try to join the center towards that dot. Like that. Stopping at the edge of the circle. And then this part is red. And so for red, how many students liked red? That was 20 students. And then lastly, the last one is green. I don't even need to measure for this, which is how many students? 15 was it? 20, no, 15. So that was 15 students. So that is how we draw a pie chart. Now, it is good practice to start with the largest from the clockwise as well, starting from the center, and then we go to the second largest. So usually start with the largest, and then step 3, then continue with second largest, and so on. Okay, so hopefully this helps you understand how to draw a pie chart or a circle graph. Then I'm gonna go back with actually, since it's already been 20 minutes in this video, I'm going to pretty much finish this off. I will give you guys some example questions, some homework questions to do. And if you guys have any questions, I can answer them in our next Zoom lesson. Okay, so let me quickly go back. And so I'm back over here. Your homework for today. Now I'll go ahead and scan that pie chart later, and I will put it in the notes over here so that once I distribute the page to each of your classes, you will be able to check it. But your homework for today, is to do exercise 10.4. Yep, 10.4. And then the questions that you will have to do is only questions 20 and then question 37 to 39. This is one long question where it's a guided question where you are required to draw a circle graph. So make sure for question 39 you do draw a pie chart. And then the third one is question 42. Please do question 42. So you do need to create 3 pie charts of your own. If you have trouble, refer back to this lesson, refer to the notes, and I will see you all next lesson.